Hello, welcome to the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society Monday Media Spotlight. I'm your host, President and CEO Perry Thompson. Tonight we'll be discussing in honor of Women's Music Month with two professors, Dr. Donnetrice Allison and Dr. Beverly Vaughn, celebrating women in music on an education perspective. So let's get Dr. Allison on. There you go. All right. How you doing, Dr. Allison?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, let me get your colleague on, Dr. Vaughn.
Okay.
All right, how's everything going?
It's going. It's
I hear you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I just sent a request for you for Dr. Vaughn. All right.
I just
Let's see if she's on. Okay. I sent the request, so let's see if she comes on.
okay.
Can you see? Where's your buddy? Just waiting for her. Let's see. Let's see. She sent the request. Hold on. Okay. Try this again. Okay, she joined. So let's
Good.
see. Dr. Vaughn? Let's see. I sent. She said she's not really familiar with the IG live. So let's coach. Let's help. So let's see. Dr. Vaughn? Let's see if she joins in. Okay. While we're waiting for Dr. Vaughn to come in, this is Women's History Month. And the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society is honoring women in music for the whole month of March.
Mm-hmm.
And, let's talk about as far as your educational background and what impacted music, particularly women in music, have an impact in your life and becoming a professor, because you're a professor of African studies.
Yes.
So let's discuss your educational background and what led you to become a professor of African studies.
Okay. So when I started at Stockton University, I was in the communication department. So
Right.
be clarified. Um, and but I was immediately involved with the Africana Studies department, and I started, teaching for Africana Studies. At Stockton, you're expected to teach not only in your department, but outside of your department. And so I got very involved in the program. And after so many years teaching for Africana Studies, I ended up chairing the department now. But my background from my degrees at Howard University were focused on mass communication and
Okay.
specific focus on Black creatives in terms of creators of music and film and television.
Mm.
And so that's where, I got involved in the music aspect. Also in undergrad, I was involved at the college radio. So all of those things are part of my background. And my master's thesis was actually focused on um, R&B ballads, like love songs, how those
Your thesis,
impact.
your thesis to get your doctorate?
My master's thesis to get my master's degree.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was so because I was very interested in how do those songs impact perspectives on love and relationships and all of that. So that's how I got really interested in the music and the impact of the music.
Wow.
Mhm.
What that's deep to write a thesis on black music. I mean, that's I don't wow, that's like mind blowing. Wow. That's really now how did you become now for your thesis to give receive your doctorate, was that on music as well or
No, that I was focusing on Black professors that teach at predominantly white schools, and you know, really in many ways how they cope, how they communicate with one another, with others, their coping strategies, and all of
okay.
it.
Wow. Now growing up, who were like what women in music impacted your life as far as like wow this is something I want to learn what actually what actual songs you growing up with particularly women in music black music did you listen to who were your influences?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. So I a lot of what I followed had to do with the fact that I was and still am the youngest of 7 siblings that I grew up with. So I was influenced by a lot of what they listened to. And for example, one of my sisters loved Ashford and Simpson. So, Valerie Simpson was huge for me. I knew that she was a writer as well in terms of, so I was always very much into lyrics. I paid a lot of attention to lyrics. I,
Right.
I would listen and write them down. So Valerie Simpson was an influence. Whitney Houston, of course, vocally, I would be in my room trying to trying to mimic Whitney Houston vocally. I used to love the SOS band, the lead singer of the SOS band, who
Mary Davis.
forgetting. Yes,
Mary Davis.
yes, absolutely loved her voice. So
Mary Davis, yeah.
I really followed SOS. Um, Later, as I was going into college, I think Anita Baker's first album, I think that came out my freshman year of college. Absolutely
Songstress.
played that to death. Uh,
Songstress, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Angel.
no, actually, maybe that one came out the year before I started college because it was the other one that I brought
Rapture.
to school.
Rapture.
Yes. So Rapture came out, absolutely played that to death.
Classic. I mean, that album is you can play that album over and over again. That is a classic album. You can't go, every song is a classic.
Exactly. So then I also got into Sade when she hit the scene. Love her. Saw her for her last tour a few years ago.
Wow.
Was on tour. It was phenomenal. So she was another one that I really loved. Who else? Who am I forgetting? There's so many. And a lot of them were based on the fact that they were lead singers in, like, I loved all the, like, Midnight Star and and oh, what's the other one? There was Midnight Star, and then there was another group right around that same time. And I'm the one that which group did that song Play Another Slow Jam?
That's a Midnight Star.
I absolutely love that song. So that's another one that I had on repeat. So yeah, there's so many that it's hard to name or remember everybody.
Now as far as you being a professor of communications, African studies, uh, how does black music play a role in what you teach in Stockton University?
So, well, it plays a huge role because I spend time usually in my intro to Africana Studies class, towards the end of the semester, I devote to music. So we talk about the impact of music. We talk about how Black people essentially used music in order to cope in the midst of racism and all of that. We have been able to create and use music in order to help us through, whether
Right.
it's gospel, whether it is R&B, all those different styles of music are a significant part of the culture. They are, like I said, a part of, how we express ourselves and then how we deal with the impact of, racism in our society. And so that's how we talk about it in that class.
Mm.
Of course, in my intro to hip hop class, we talk about Black music all throughout the semester. And I talk to them about the impact of, of all different genres of Black music leading up to the birth of hip hop, right? So you have the blues and you have, soul, R&B, rock and roll, which of course was created by Black people. So I talk all about that and how that essentially gave birth to hip hop.
Now, yeah, I know when I first met you, you told me you were an avid hip hop fan. So who were your favorite female hip hop artists growing up?
First for me is MC Light. First and foremost was MC Light. We actually had MC Light last year. She did a webinar at Stockton. Absolutely
Okay.
love her. Big fan. I loved the tone and the cadence of her voice. So she's huge for me. I enjoyed Salt and Pepper as well. Of course, Queen Latifah, Moni Love. I love that they were down with that whole Afrocentric collective. So I was totally into that. And then, of course, Lauryn Hill is another favorite. Missy Elliott, I think she's phenomenal. So, all of those women and kind of what they contributed. Roxanne Shante, of course, early on in her career. So, I was fans of those women.
Now, do you teach? I mean, I know you teach music all the time, but is there a time in your curriculum where you specifically teach about women in music?
Yeah, absolutely. We just, as a matter of fact, last week in the hip hop class was dedicated to women in hip hop. So,
Okay.
so yeah, that's what we spent the week just talking about women. We talked about kind of the progression of women in hip hop. We talk about where things change for women in hip hop and the pressure to, kind of go in a more sexualized direction from how things used to be, where it was just, you wear whatever you want on stage and
Right.
it was about your lyrical ability. It wasn't about
Yes, it was.
head on. And so then, of course, in the 90s, all of that changed. And then there was this pressure for women to, be more sexual in the presentation of self.
Do you think that's also in R&B because years ago, in R&B it was about talent, and as the years went on, it became more sexual as far as promoting that rather than the talent. Do you see that in R&B as well?
Absolutely.
As far as women,
Particularly in terms of who really makes it. Like, for example, I introduced my daughter when she was very young, 8 or 9 years old. I introduced her to India Arie's music. I absolutely love India Arie. Now, India never got the same level of shine as, let's say, a Beyonce or people, somebody like that.
right?
Yeah, I mean, she plays instruments. She's incredibly talented. I've seen her live several times, but she doesn't get that same kind of attention. So, yes, there are talented women out here doing their thing, but it seems that the ones that get the most attention are the ones that kind of go that route. And that that's a sad commentary in a lot of ways.
It really is. Dr. Allison, you really hit the head on the nail with that. I mean, because I seen like when videos came out, and particularly women in music, they try to change the images of a lot of particular women. I mean, when I hear the stories of, uh, so many great legendary singers, how the record companies want them to change their style, change how they look to promote, to make them sell better rather than their talent. They're promoting, and it's really sad. I mean, like you said, so many great female artists who are so talented and they don't really get the push they deserve because of maybe they don't like their look, maybe their image is not what the people may want. But it should be all about the talent, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be about how it shouldn't be about the body imagery. It should be about the vocal imagery. How can you impact the crowd vocally?
Right.
And it should be a balance there. As you said, there's no reason why any Irie shouldn't sell as much as Beyonce. She should be just as big.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of artists. I mean, it's just the evolution of music. Me seeing it when it came from the '80s till now. Me looking at female artists in R&B and hip hop when they started merging R&B and hip hop, like what they did with Mary J. Blige, who basically merged hip hop and R&B. She really took that to a whole nother level.
Right.
I mean, because she started out, she was wearing the baggy pants and she was hip hop and R&B, and she elevated to such a great legend. And you see the progression as far as with women. You hear the stories as far as like how they didn't want a certain artist to sound like Whitney Houston, or they want a certain artist to sound like Beyonce. And you really shouldn't. That really shouldn't be the case.
Mm-hmm.
They should let them have their own style, create their own image, let them have their own lane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, there is kind of that pressure for certain artists to follow exactly the formula of another artist. I'm kind of watching the Chloe and Halle, the Bailey sisters, who are incredibly talented, but then I forget which one it is that just did a solo project. And it's kind of like she's a mini Beyonce. Like she's following that exact same formula. She's doing the same kind of things. And I don't know if that's what she wants to do or what somebody's
Mm-hmm.
to do. It's really hard to tell. It's so similar. It's just like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
and when
Yeah.
when I first started hearing them, I just loved their harmonies together and how they vocally they're incredible, but in
Right.
terms of image now it's kind of interesting to see how that's playing out.
Yeah. Let's talk about as far as like when it came to black women in music, black music, when it came to like women who, like you said, Valerie Simpson was a great writer, but also Angela Winbush, who was a great writer.
Yeah.
You had the group Climax, the female band,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
that was like unheard of, a female band.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like wow, and talk about that aspect as well as far as women behind the scenes who write, produce. Can you speak on that on the educational perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you always had women behind the scenes, writing for other artists and all of that. I've just recently, I think it was the end of January, maybe, I saw Stephanie Mills in concert in Newark, and she talked about she and Angela Bush are very good friends, and she talked about that relationship and songs that Angela wrote and all of that.
Right.
So, you have always had that presence of women who were behind the scenes. Just last week, talking to my students about women in hip hop, we talked about Missy as a producer, just phenomenal, just in terms of her, before she even really hit in terms of her solo career as a rapper. She had done, quite a bit as a producer.
Absolutely.
And writing for the different groups that were out around that time. So, that's kind of, for me, it's a given. I don't know, maybe there are people who don't know or realize that, but the fact that we have women like that out there.
Wow. Right. Do you also speak about women in jazz music? Do you also teach about the history of women in jazz?
Yeah, we talk some. We certainly talk about, we start with blues. So we definitely talk about the significance of the female presence in blues and what they were singing about, the content, how it was very, for that time period, it was considered very risque. Of course, the movie on Netflix of Ma Rainey, like that, fantastic because it does
Yes.
demonstrate how significant and in her own way powerful she was in that era.
Yes.
Yeah, we talk about her and Bessie, and we talk about um
What
uh
about Mammy Smith? You mentioned about Mammy Smith because Mammy Smith was the first artist ever, black artist ever, to be on phonograph record.
right.
Mammy Smith.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. um and why I'm forgetting her, Billie Holiday, of course, we talk about. So all of those kind of artists who paved the way. So we talk about that era of blues that bled into jazz, and the artists and the impact that they had.
Wow. Now, what reaction do your students have teaching about that? I mean, did they really get engulfed in the knowledge? Do they really enjoy the knowledge, getting all that knowledge?
I mean, some do, some do, and then you have others who kind of take a class just for whatever reason, for credits or whatever.
Mm,
Of the ones who really do get into it and kind of
right,
a light bulb goes off about, and for the most part, I'm introducing them to people they never heard of. So that's also,
right.
I enjoyed that, and just kind of the fascination that these women were out there and what the impact that they have on other artists that they know of today, and then they hear that, or they hear the similarities, then they're able to make the connections.
Mm, right. Now, now who who do you like to, as far as the female artists today in hip hop and R and B and jazz? Who are you really feeling? Who do you like that's out now?
One of my favorites out now is her. I absolutely think that she's incredibly talented young woman. Again, she also is a writer, a guitarist, and you can really hear the influences of artists that came before her, and that's what I love about her. So she's definitely one of my favorites of her generation. In 20, a lot of them I'm not really feeling that many of them, because one of the directions that I don't love about some of today's music, especially when it comes to vocalists, is that some of them are just singers, and then you kind of see or hear them live, and it's a whole nother story. Um, but I like her. I like oh shoot, she's an actress also. I'm kidding. Um, Janelle Monáe. That's Janelle Monáe is another one.
Yes.
Her.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
Right. So she's another one that I think is really talented. Um, and I'm forgetting some names right now.
You know the great hip hop artist you should listen to? Rhapsody. She's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, no, yeah, I have heard her. Rhapsody. I also have No Name as far as hip hop. No Name is another one who's really
Yeah,
lyrically.
she's good. Oh yeah.
So yeah, as far as hip hop goes, I like her a lot. Um, but yeah, I mean the numbers are kind of small.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, there has to be more because there's so many talented women, R&B, hip hop, and jazz, that that's really not pushed. I mean, there's some, like, what is her name? Like, there's certain artists that are out now in R&B and hip hop that, you know, really kind of pushed the limit. And I guess that's what the company's, yeah, the company's still looking for, that that sexual type of orientation in music, but
Right.
it shouldn't be that way. Like you said, it should be just about the talent. You know, back in the day, I mean, I can remember, so many, I can remember a story, Mickey Howard, she's talking about far as how her company, her label, wanted her to be the next Whitney Houston.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
yeah, Mickey Howard is a talent on her own. She's
Right.
a legend of her own. I mean,
She's the other one.
they were
I
trying.
absolutely loved her, that album with the one that had Love Under New Management. Oh my God.
Absolutely,
Played
absolutely. I mean,
played it to
you
death.
can't. Yeah, I mean, you can't make someone sound like somebody else.
Right.
Mickey had her own style.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
know, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about it. When someone's popular, you want to make the other one sound like the one that's popular, and that is not fair to that artist. It's really not. I mean, because you have to let that artist find their own lane, like I said before, and like you said, there's so many in between now who really don't get that push. On a teacher's perspective of what are you the role of women in music now? What do you see it going as far as black music and the impact of women in music? What do you see it going as far as being a fan of music and as an educator?
Well, I'm hoping that I do see some of the young women that are coming out now that are trying to move away from sexualized image. Like her, for example. Like she doesn't, she doesn't come on stage with like hardly any clothes on, all of that. For it's about the music. And so along like her and No Name and Rhapsody, like some of those folks are not doing that. And so I think that there will be some full circle. Well, you have those who say, you know what? I mean, that's not, that's fine for those who want to do it, but that's not my thing. And I want it to just be about talent or be about my music. And I do think that some of the young women coming out are moving away from that whole sexualized image and saying like, okay, I just want to come out with my talent. And I think you'll see more of that. Like, for example, the television show Insecure, I thought what was great about that is the way that she featured new artists coming in.
Right.
And so several of the new artists that she would play on that show are some of these young women who are just like, doing it a different way. They are doing their own thing where it's not just about their physical presence, right?
Right.
I do think that there is a lot of good stuff coming out that's gonna bring it back to the music, bring the focus back to the music.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, because I mean, you had women, like Vesta when she first came out. She was a full figure woman, very talented, very talented, and I think that I know she had lost the weight. I don't know if that was because of the company telling her to lose the weight or was it her decision. But I mean, Vesta was just a great. She was just a great talent. I mean, full figure didn't matter her size. I mean, she was just a great talent. And as far as like when the videos came out, I guess they were trying to push a certain type of image when it came to women in music. But again, Queen Latifah, one of the legends of hip hop. She a full figure woman. Her talent spoke for itself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Spoke for itself,
She always,
regardless of her size.
she always had a commanded respect in the hip hop
Correct.
community, and she had that respect. 100.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I mean, when it comes to like as far as like when it seems like when the companies when they sign a female artist, I don't wait years ago. I guess they were trying to create some type of image when it came to pushing a particular artist. and you hear the story as far as how they wanted to change their image, even to the cost of changing their skin tone to make them look lighter. I've heard stories about that, changing their skin tone. Well, if you change this, you'll sell more. It's just it's just the craziness of the industry. But fortunately, there are female artists out there who are still preserving the culture of Black music just by their talent and not their physical. They're not pushing really that sexual. There's nothing wrong with it. Pushing a little bit of that physical, but it's all about the talent. And that's a great thing that you're teaching your class about women in music. It's all about the music and not their image. I mean, that's a great thing that you're doing. What do you see as far as as far as you're teaching the class? What upcoming are you doing anything? What else you have coming up for Music Month in March for women in music?
So one of the things we focus on, I mean, the students are working on papers that kind of question that in terms of the direction that the music industry pushes people to go in. Because, and they're even talking about it from the perspective of, particularly in hip hop, from the perspective of masculinity and how men talk about women in hip hop. And so that's another thing that they're kind of looking at, and they're going to be doing research for their papers about that. And then with my intro to Africana Studies class, it's usually towards closer to the last couple weeks of April that they start focusing. I start them with poetry, look at Black women poets, and then that kind of bleeds into talking about Black women in music. And so that's how I kind of set it up.
Now, when you speak about the misogynistic impact in hip hop as far as women being disrespected, what is your intake? What is your perspective of that? Because that's been a part of hip hop, unfortunately. For how women were talked about in lyrics. What is your perspective of that, and what do you teach about that in your class?
Well, we kind of talk about the origins of it, like how things started to change, and how we went from this era of, you had the what I like to call the Afrocentric era of hip hop with the Jungle Brothers and A Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul, Black Sheep. You had all of those groups come out, and it was this era of talking about Black women as queens. Arrested Development is another one. And in fact, one of my favorite songs by the Jungle Brothers is called Black Woman. And
yes, great song. Yes, I love that song.
Earth, Black woman, you gave birth. All
those
kinds of things. And then within, just a few short years, the West Coast comes along and say, what, women ain't what? But hope, right? So that really kind of changed the trajectory of what was being said in the music, how women talked about, perceived, how they were even shown in videos. Like, again, in the 90s is when you had started to have 24 women per one man in a video. Like that, before that wasn't really a thing. And so that era brought that change, and then kind of everybody felt like, oh, well, I got to do that now. So even for the men, there's that element of pressure to kind of follow along with what everybody else is doing in the industry. And then, oh, well, he got, all the women in the video, so then I need to do that too. And then the record companies are also pushing to do those kind of things.
Right. Yeah, you're right, Dr. Allison. I mean, it's, because I remember growing up listening to, they weren't disrespecting women when hip hop first came out. And when, as you said, when I started hearing the negative images of women in hip hop, I was like, whoa, okay, wow. It just, I didn't listen to it. I didn't particularly care for it. I'm not judging anybody, but I'm like, if you, I mean, how would their mothers listen? What about your mother listen to that? I mean, what, that's all I thought about. Would you play this for your mother?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Absolutely.
that's what I thought about.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I had my class read Rakim's book. They just read it like a couple of weeks ago. And they had to write a paper on it. And one of the things Rakim talks about is the reason that he like never cursed in his songs was because his mother, he usually played his music for her first. Like before he released it, he wanted her to hear it. And his mother was a jazz musician. She had a jazz background. So he came from a musical family. And so he
Yeah, right. His aunt was Ruth Brown, right?
Right. So obviously he wasn't gonna have all of that kind of stuff in his music if the first ear he wants to hear it is his mother. Right. So yeah,
Correct.
it definitely says something.
Right, right, absolutely. I mean, and unfortunately, you even had some women trying to follow that. You had NWA, then you had HWA, and then you had BWP. And to try to follow that, you know, I can say what I want to say type of image, and that you can, but again, when I heard women started competing with the men on a level like that, like wow, okay. I mean, I know they want to stand toe to toe lyrically, as far as speaking about, because there was a song that Ice Cube did with Yo Yo called "It's a Man's World," which is a great song, and she was competing with Ice Cube lyrically.
Right.
It's a great cut. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
And you hear the Ice Cube doing this thing. Yo Yo's like, no, you can't diss me. I'm right here with you. So
Right.
that was a great camaraderie. You know what I mean? And I think it should still be like that. I mean, but again, there should be some type of balance when it comes to, as far as like when it comes to women in music. Um, let's have a balance. It shouldn't be all about just one particular person that they push, because there's so many great talent out there. Uh, I totally agree with you. Dr. Allison, why is it so important to preserve the culture of Black music? And why is it so important that in this month being Women's History Month, that we honor women in Black music?
I mean, because of their impact, because of the fact that, those origins of music, like I said, I mean, the reality is one of the reasons why I talk to my students about the blues is because in so many ways, the blues is the foundation of American popular music, right? So,
Mhm.
and women were at the forefront of that in terms of the blues singers. You had women right there. And so they are, you know, the mothers giving birth to that kind of music. And then that music gave birth to so many others. So it starts with the blues, and then, you have rock and roll spring off of that, and country music spring off of that. And all these different kind of music spring off of that. And women were right there at the forefront. And so that's so important for us to remember and honor that legacy.
Absolutely. That's absolutely, Dr. Al. That's absolutely great statement. Um, can you please speak about, as far as what the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society is doing, as far as our part in preserving the culture of Black music? Can you speak on it, on your perspective? Because we just recently did a Dr. Nina Simone tribute, which was a great tribute at Southern University. We really appreciate you having us there. It was a great turnout. Everyone, it was a very positive impact. My vice presidency, if she's, Dr. Sonja Freeman. She's a great impact on the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society. She's been a great help to me. We really work together. So can you please speak on our role as far as what the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society is doing in preserving the culture of Black music?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's great what you all are doing, and I love the idea of the tribute to Nina Simone on her birthday, and you all brought that idea to us. So it's something that we hadn't done before, but I'm so glad that we did. And so I think you guys are doing what you say that you're doing in terms of preserving R&B, and bring these ideas to us so that we can continue to educate our students about artists that, again, they may never have heard of. I know one of my students from class came to that event, talked about in her paper how she had never heard of Nina Simone before.
Mm.
And it really opened her eyes to, a new artist that has a significant legacy that she
Mm.
heard about before. So I think the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society is an important entity to have in any community to help educate young people about, legacy artists that they may have never heard of.
Thank you for that. We appreciate that. We definitely going to be doing some more projects at Stockton because, we really appreciate your support. Can you please tell the people why they should donate to the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society because we are a nonprofit organization. Can you please speak about why people should make donations to our organization?
Absolutely. For the same reasons that I just said, that it is so important for young people in the community to know about the legacy, even in their surrounding community, because something that came up in our discussion about Nina Simone, how she, right in New Jersey, really started her career
Right,
in New Jersey before the casinos, and she was playing clubs out there. And again,
right.
that is, a local kind of New Jersey legacy that the students need to know about. So, all the way from K through 12 to college students, the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society helps to, bring that information out and educate the community about artists that they don't even realize their legacy and don't even realize that they are in their backyard or have been a part of their own communities. So that's the reason why I donate.
Thank you for that. We appreciate that very much. That's what we're doing. We're preserving the culture of Black music. We're honoring those who, it's not with us. It's not about how many records you sold, how many awards you won. It's about as long as you played a role in the culture of Black music, we're going to honor you. That's what we're all about. We thank you for that love and support. Please, Dr. Allison. Please talk about any upcoming projects you're having in your school when it comes to, music and where you can be reached at so that people can because, you're an educator, you're teaching Black music, which is very important. And so please let the people know what you're doing and how they can reach you.
Well, right here through Instagram is Donnetrice71. People can reach me that way. I'm also faculty at Stockton University, so you can go to the main page of Stockton University and look me up that way. See what events we have coming up. We do have an event on April 26th that is a hip hop and spoken word showcase that we have, uh, primarily students who are just showing their talents. And
Okay.
that is on April 26th at 4:30. It's right in the food court area, so we're just kind of in an open space so that people can come in and get something to eat and sit down and listen to some of our talented students.
Okay, I gotta check that out. I'm there April 26th.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, you guys let me know. Send me information on that. I'm gonna try to make that. I would love to hear the young talent. I definitely want to do that and showcase new talent. I definitely want to check that out. Oh,
Absolutely.
that's great. That's great that you promote. Wow, that's really great. Dr. Allison, we want to thank you for being on the Money Meter Spotlight. We thank Dr. Vaughn. Unfortunately, she couldn't get on, but we thank Dr. Vaughn as well. We appreciate both of your support as far as what we're doing, working with Stockton University. I mean, truly a blessing that we connected, and we truly appreciate everything that you've done for us. And we want to continue to present more projects when it comes to the culture of Black music to Stockton because it's very important what you're doing and Dr. Vaughn is doing, and because Black music is a culture,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to preserve our culture. And if you want to be a part of this culture, you have to learn who contributed to this culture called Black music. So it's very important what you both are doing, and we thank you both, and we appreciate you being on our Money Music Spotlight. We salute you on behalf of the Rhythm and Blues Preservation Society.
Yes, and next time, I'll Dr. Moore. Next time, you can just talk to her, and I'll try to help to make sure she gets on, because she, of course, has an incredible contribution to make as,
Absolutely.
having taught at Stockton. I don't know, I've been going on 40 years now as a professor of music. And so she is an incredible wealth of knowledge. So hopefully we can
Yes.
get the technology right in order to get her on.
Yes, because I definitely want to talk to Dr. Vaughn, because I know she's a worth of knowledge as yourself as well. So we definitely got to come back and do Dr. Vaughn as well. Again, we want to thank you for being on Monday Music Spotlight. It was very educational, informative. I learned a whole lot more about what you're doing and what the importance of what you're doing, teaching the students. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a
All right. And we want to thank everyone who joined us. And again, this is Monday Media Spotlight. I'm President CEO Perry Thompson. We wish you peace and love. Everyone have a good night. Take care, everyone.